Welcome to The Bridge, a podcast for dental professionals featuring the insights and expertise of fellow dental professionals. Let's welcome our host, Stephen Kuza.
Good morning, Bridge Dental Podcast listeners. We're back for the 2022 season. I'm your host, Steve Kuza. We got a special guest today, Dr. Ron Direzze. How you doing, Doc?
I'm well. Good morning. How are you?
So today we're going to learn a lot from Doc. I just want to reintroduce myself for the new year to all the new listeners. I'm a financial planner by day, super podcast host by night. So if you guys need any assistance in the financial planning world, just visit me at stephenkuza.com or hit me up through direct message on Instagram. You can hit me up with a follow there or the podcast page there. And for today's episode with Dr. Ron, we're going to learn how to learn. Here's a guy who's been doing this for 20 plus years and has never stopped learning, growing his practice. And I think you're really going to love what he has to share today, including what he just told me prior to the episode. We might have some life hacks that he could teach us about as well. So Doc, thanks for joining us. Why don't you just start by introducing yourself so the podcast listening audience can figure out who you are and where you're at.
Steve, I'm so glad to be here, and I'm so thankful that you asked me to join you this morning. My name is Ron Direzze. I am a general dentist in Shelby Township, Michigan, northeast Detroit. I've been in my office for exactly 20 years on Tuesday. We celebrated our 20-year anniversary on Tuesday. Wow. I was 28 years old when I bought this practice, and it's been one heck of a ride. As I said, I practice general dentistry, and I feel like I've reinvented myself several times. And, this 2022 version is the best version of me and the best version of the dental me that I've ever seen. So I'm reinvigorated and re-energized to enter 2022 and to keep going onward and upward with things that we learn and things that we do and things that we share.
That's incredible. First of all, congratulations, 20 years. And taking the journey of entrepreneurship and in dentistry. Obviously, you've never kept it boring. I'm looking at your past and your history and where you're at today. But man, thinking about so the way you just described it is 20 years later, it sounded like you're now entering the prime of your career, which is interesting.
Yeah.
So, let's get right into it. So what happened at this? So you do a lot of study clubs, Ron, right? You do study clubs for different organizations. You're teaching, you're educating, you're helping younger dentists learn in many different areas, everything from practice ownership to some of the scanning techniques.
Yes.
Tell us, you had a study club last night and we were talking before. So give us some insight because I want to get right into the nitty gritty of that stuff.
So, study club is a great deal. As you know, you visited my study club and you visited Bianca Study Club on the west side, Detroit. My presentation last night was very clinical, very hands-on Invisalign, what to do, what not to do. The kids, the doctors, I call them the kids, they're all younger than me. The kids loved it. They're always thirsty for clinical stuff. And I thought I did a good job until I asked one of our members, Dr. Ricardo Sear. Ricardo has an interest in financial stuff, crypto, and traveling on points. And he's always giving us these little tips and tricks. And as I've gotten to know him over the last 8 or 9 months, I asked him, I said, would you put together a short presentation for us at the end of study club? Would you put together something for us just to kind of share and tell us what you do, how you do it for those of us that don't know what you're into? Yeah, 100%, no problem. He'd love to do it. I thought my presentation was good. His was great. Nobody left. Nobody got up. Everybody asked questions. Everybody was very involved, way more so than they were involved with me. But in a nutshell, he explained crypto to us, that it's some place that is going to be here for the future. And rather than turning a blind eye, we should at least know a little something about it. But the real big deal for me was what's called travel hacking. How to travel different places on points. It's a world that I never knew existed.
Yeah.
I got completely undressed in front of everyone because he asked, who here has the American Express Delta Sky Miles card? I was the first one with my hand up.
Yeah, you thought this was
business owner, business owner, 20 years. I scored a huge victory. He called me out. He was talking to me. I raised my hand. He said, okay, who here maxes out that card every month, buys all their labs, their lab stuff, their supplies, max out every month, collects those Delta points. Right here, raise my hand. He said, when I see someone take out that Amex Delta card, he goes, it makes me sick. He said, there's nothing worse you can do for yourself. And I was devastated. I was like, not only undressed, but fearful for my the economic consequences that were going to fall down on me. So he basically said, he laid out an example. When you're tied to that card, you're tied to Delta.
Right.
And he just showed a quick example. Because let's say I want to go from Detroit to Paris. So the 80,000 points on Delta, but Delta has partners. So you can look up that same flight number, the same plane, Air France was 30,000 points. And another partner, Virgin Atlantic, something like 12,000 points. But you got to have the flexibility in the card to be able to pay 12,000 points on Virgin Atlantic, which you cannot pay with Amex Delta. That opened up a whole world. And I swear I got up this morning and I just started searching flights. Like I'm going to Vegas for an implant symposium. I'm going again for Galler in June. And it's consuming me this morning that I need to get on my brow. I need to cross-check these flights and how I'm going to pay for them. I just messaged him this morning. I said, I need a spreadsheet. I need to know all the partners that Delta partners with. I need to know who flies domestic, who flies international. Help us. And he's like, Ron, he goes, I've been doing this for a long time. We just got to sit down and talk. So I'm buzzing, not about the study club. I'm buzzing about what I learned about travel hacking. I mean, it's just so something that everybody can get into.
Well, this is a perfect segue. Number one, I'm sure a lot of people listening have the Delta Sky and they're just trying to rack up points. Yes, I'm sure. Right. So before we spend an entire podcast on that wormhole, right. But the transition I want to understand. But first of all, my wallet is like burning a hole in my pocket right now because I got to go look this up afterwards.
You cannot stop thinking about it.
So in this stage of your dentist career, you're doing a lot of speaking and a lot of traveling.
Yeah.
So let's put on the logistics side first. How do you balance that? Because a lot of the younger dentists are getting into let me coach, teach, educate. Right. But how are you navigating that with a 20-year business also that, that's your baby, right? So logistically, how are you managing your calendar, seeing patients, traveling, your family, right? Like, how do you logistically keep all that together?
I make it fit in, and it's been reinvigorated because, as you know, this Invisalign lifestyle that we live, this scanning everybody, the iTero scanners, this value that we're bringing not only to ourselves but to our patients makes it worthwhile. Dentistry is hard. It's a thankless job. Things go wrong every day, and we're constantly explaining and figuring things out. That's a drag. What's not a drag is teaching young kids coming up how we deliver Invisalign, teaching staff members how we scan every patient. I have right here inside the break room, this is the funnel, how we scan every patient. These are our checks and balances. And that's fun. That's not an implant failing. That's not a root canal going bad. That's not someone that it hurts when they bite down. This is the fun realm of dentistry. And the segue that you're talking about the points guy is when I came up 20 years ago, it used to be, the specialist used to lecture to the dentist, used to do things their way. And if you couldn't do it their way, you had to give to the specialist. Look at us now. They Dr. Rondo in Canada has a general dentist teaching his clear aligner course. That's me. Invisalign just made all the study club chair people, Invisalign speakers. We're all general dentists. We're all wet fingered. Right. None of us have a specialty. But we are learning from each other, like Dr. Ricardo's here last night. We are learning from him. He's not a specialist. He's not a financial guru. He taught us how to listen to a podcast about crypto, or he taught us to open our eyes and to go and seek for ourselves what the value could be in the future. And that's that's a different brand of learning. That's peer-to-peer learning. That's something that's been set like Dental Town 10, 15 years ago, filtered down to the AACA does a wonderful job at that with WhatsApp. This is, crowdsourcing or peer-based learning. And it's a lot different than how we grew up. You mentioned lecturing. I got brought on by Keystone Dental Implants to do some evening lectures about scanning, because what we do with scanning is not just for Invisalign. You can rubber stamp this and copycat this to any aspect of dentistry. That's valuable to a company. That's valuable to a company to teach that to their prospective customers, because I'm a general dentist with an extremely busy practice that has fit all this in. So they want to hear from me. They want to hear what the pitfalls are in incorporating this, as opposed to just having a specialist, with the tie buttoned up and saying, this is the way you do it. This is the way it has to be. If you can't do it this way, it's not the other way. Dentistry is not like that anymore. It's very much, it's a two-way street where we give and we learn, and we give back to our younger colleagues while we learn. That's a great way to practice, and that's a great way to live.
So, Ron, one of the things I'm thinking about is I love how you just explained the evolution of it, but I still feel like nationally, as you know, I work with a lot of dentists nationally. And when sometimes I'll talk to some of the different business owners, different practice owners, and I'll mention, hey, are you a member of, or do you, of the AACA? Like, tell me some of your affiliations. And I don't want to say their response is almost like, I've heard about it. I don't have time for it. And I don't know if you can explain bridging that gap, because now not only are you one of the leaders in Invisalign and now going out and speaking about it, but also this key. So you're adding additional pieces to your plate. So when they say they don't have the time, or they don't actually say that, but I can feel it. Like, yeah, that sounds great, but we're busy,
Well, Steve, what they don't have time for is they don't have time for the hierarchy. They don't have time for the traditional way that things were done. They don't have time for the top down. To be a little guy on the totem pole.
Yeah.
Nobody has time for that. Nobody wants to do that. That's been done. All these organizations are the good old boys club. You cannot penetrate. They are set in their ways. The AAC is different. And when we go to these board meetings, my fellow board members, Christina Blocker, Nadia Sad, Joan Roman, Gina Marcus, and Gina Johnson-Higgins, we got invoked into the board of directors in 2021 in Denver. And our first exposure to the board of directors, Dr. Geller went through the core principles of the AACA. And one of the core principles was to turn organized dentistry upside down. What that means is it's not from the top down any longer. It's from the bottom up. It's crowdsourcing. Like we had Dr. Ricardo speak to us last night. It's having people on our WhatsApp chats that happen to have a particular specialty or a particular area of interest that they can share. It's not just mandated from the top down. So what your business owners don't have time for, they don't have time to pay the dues and not have a voice. They don't have time to have a question and not get an appropriate answer. I don't have any colleagues I'm a member of the AGD. I'm a member of the AD. I'm a member of organized dentistry, have been for 20 years. But when I have a question, I've never reached out to the AGD. I've never reached out to the American Dental Association or the MD. I don't have any colleagues that we don't have a platform. I can't do this with them. Right. However, I get back from re-engage on a Monday. I'm texting my two brand new best friends that took class with me, and they're all in. One guy loves to do implants. The other guy loves to do sleep. Pick their brains for hours via text message. Yeah. We become like this because this organization is different.
Well, you have this, it's a unique setting because you have these independent dentists all over the country now with a common thread and able to share peer-to-peer, like you said, crowdsourcing. So that's incredible. So how is that evolving now? Because now you're doing the speaking for Invisalign, but tell me about the Keystone implants. So that's another opportunity why is that so? Where do you think the game-changing opportunity is there?
The game-changing opportunity is empowering the general dentist. So much like Invisalign empowers the general dentist to make a change in our patient's life, Keystone views this opportunity as a way to penetrate the general dentist market. They, as a company, they have a lot of converts from the big four players in the game, because things are just the way they've always been done. They have no innovation in their products. Keystone is a company that happens to have a little bit of innovation in their products. And they see, an opportunity with general dentists by bringing on a general dentist that has incorporated that. I showed about 30 slides last night because Keystone was our sponsor last night. So I showed about 30 slides of Keystone implants that I did, and showed how it was different than how it's been done before. And, I hope they get some traction off that. But as a company, they can penetrate the general dentist office by having a unique product, a product that has a unique look on the x-ray, a unique look in the mouth, and a unique feel when you deliver their product to a patient. It's a lot different than what's ever been done before with other companies. So as a general dentist practicing for 20 years, I've got an implant going in room 1. I'm doing a root canal in room 2, doing a crown in room 3. That happens every single day. Thankfully, they value someone like me that's able to navigate this for other people and to show them these are the pitfalls. This is what you want to stay away from. Incorporating this in the general dentist office, this is what you should do. I don't do 300 a year,
right?
But the amount that I do are in the midst of 300 crowns. So they value that experience now, and they want to hear more about it. And I'm thankful for the opportunities. It just opens up doors for me. It allows me to help, and it allows me to do something satisfying. But satisfying because it's non-invasive. It's completely empowering the dentist and also empowering the patient to be able to see what we see on a mutual screen, on the iTero screen.
I want to put a bookmark right there. I want to go back. I was thinking about something as you're talking. You're
Yes.
one of those people I would describe as, you seem like you're radically open-minded. You're an abundant thinker.
Okay.
And, not everyone's wired that way, right?
Yeah.
Naturally. Sometimes it takes some coaching, but where does that come from? Is that something that you picked up over time? Were you more stubborn before, and maybe it's evolved, or maybe that's something you picked up from your parents? But I'm just curious, where does that abundant mentality come from?
Yeah. I grew up in Canada, Steve. We just talked about that a little bit before. In Canada, my parents were very, very much, they had excellent jobs, both of them. They were well educated, both of them, but very much 9-to-5ers. Okay. And very conservative. We were conservative as a family. Our country was conservative, socialist country, very conservative. I guess being a young practice owner and being newly married at the time, there's a little bit of desperation that comes along with that. There comes chances that you need to take. There comes opportunities that you can't let slip by. But I've learned from taking those opportunities, doing those cases that required extra thinking, doing those cases where I had to take the models to a specialist to ask them, what did I get myself into? How do I do this safely? It's going through those experiences that helps mold me today. So when I know what cases not to take, but I'm also not afraid to take some calculated risks.
Right.
I always used to say, there's some people that take a course like LVI. Back then it was like 20 grand. It's probably more to take all their continuums now. 20 grand to learn how to do veneers. I just did on my cousin Dino. I found out what not to do. That was easy. That was my 20 grand case. I burned on it, but I figured out in a hurry what occlusion not to take on. Right. So there comes a little bit of risk taking, and, being radically open-minded. I just found a niche for myself where I'm able to do something that doesn't get me into trouble. Invisalign doesn't get people into trouble usually when it's done properly.
Right.
Mentoring kids, younger doctors, doesn't get me into trouble. Answering my cell phone, texting with, Dr. Such and Such from Study Club, I'll say, that doesn't get me into trouble. It's some place that I see that I can help, and I can put myself out there and give my thoughts and my feelings and my opinions. And I'm not doing wrong by any doctors. I'm not doing wrong by any patients. That speaks to me as someone who goes into a patient's mouth every day and's got to cover your behind every day. We enjoy doing stuff that's risk-free, and I tend to embrace it more and more.
That's interesting. That's an interesting dynamic that you just explained, right? Because there is a responsibility, a liability that you deal with every day. So here's an opportunity to, teach and create income. It's just a nice opportunity, right? So, go ahead.
It's a lot of work.
We forgot to put the part. Yeah, it is hard work. You got to be willing to put in that work.
Yeah. You asked about the logistics. I said to my wife when this started, we're going to run a couple courses. We're going to run one in Chicago, one in Toronto. Oh, that sounds good. So, we could probably all go to Chicago. Well, Chicago wasn't exactly Chicago. Chicago was Oak Brook. Oak Brook is not Chicago. Oak Brook is not downtown. You're not going to Giordano's in downtown Chicago.
Right.
Oak Brook, there's a big mall there. And when I'm lecturing, my wife would be having to take care of the kids and going to the mall. Well, maybe they don't want to do that all day. That's different than walking up and down Michigan Avenue.
Right.
So what evolved is, this is going to be fun. I'll take you guys with me. That was different. Then there was Toronto in November. Well, my oldest son wasn't vaccinated at the time.
Oh.
He couldn't come with us. We're not going to leave him. My wife said, you know what, you go and lecture. I'll stay home with the kids. By the time we realized what the requirements were, it was too much time had passed. We couldn't go and get them vaccinated in the proper amount of time. That fell through. So it is a little hard being away. It is a little hard making plans, wanting to go and enjoy with your family, and then not being able to, because now I'm stuck in a hotel and I'm teaching. I'm by myself, So it's, the serenity of traveling alone is one thing, but it wears out very, very quickly when your family's not with you, because that's not fun. It's only fun for a little bit when you have time to rest your eyes and not think about anything. But then it's like, all right, now I'm bored. Where's my family? I'm going to call them on FaceTime and see what they're doing. So, I'm very much a family man, and I do enjoy teaching and helping, but I do want my family along with me.
Yeah. Well, one of the, and you could probably appreciate this, Rob, one of the things that I teach young financial advisors, even myself, I work on this on a daily basis. It's a counterbalance, right? So sometimes I got to be all in at work. Sometimes I got to be all in at home. But if I can create a counterbalance, to your point, middle of my day, FaceTime this, it's better than just going so hard at work where you drop the ball at home, or and the other version where you don't pay attention to work and the work falls apart. So it's more of a counterbalance, which sounds like that's the hard part. You just got to keep working at it. There's no perfect solution.
Steve, I did December 29th. I did the last AACA webinar of the year. I do a little TMJ lecture, with TMJ/Invisalign. And that day, my wife decided that she's going to go out with her girlfriends. And I said, well, I've got the webinar tonight. She said, yeah, I know. What about these kids? Oh, they'll be fine, she says. Okay, are you sure? Yeah. Just tell them that the webinar not to disturb you. Well, you tell them not to disturb you during the webinar, and it turns into a game of who can disturb who more.
Right.
And what happened, behind the camera was I had I had one of my little ones doing the American Pie with the towel. He's trying to throw the towel and get it to drape over my camera, and I'm talking and I'm gritting my teeth, and I'm with my hands off camera, get away, get out of here,
Classic.
But you know what? I wouldn't have it any other way, because that's me. That's how I live. That's how I do what I do. And anything other than that is not normal for me. Right. I'm not the type to just sit in a controlled solitary office while the kids are, on Netflix or on their electronics, and then just quiet. Everything, it's a big deal, big promotion, big commotion for me.
Right.
And that's just me. And I love it,
That's fair. I mean, I meet a lot of young dentists early in their career. They're like, I'll figure out life after I get this organized. I'm like, look, you got to live a little bit too. It's all part of the experience. There's different relationships in each experience that you have. And in your case, with your family, with your kids, that's a different relationship with work, and you pull it together. I love that. That's just part of who you are. Yeah. Well, what about the business model? Right. So if I'm a dentist, I'm thinking, does this make sense because it sounds cool and it's definitely a lot of work. It's going to take up time. Does the business model work? Am I still profitable at the practice? Am I still profitable to do these talks? Talk to me about the business model and how you think that joining an organization like this, being peer involved, does it help the business model?
Yeah. Only if you travel on days that you're not working. Obviously, that's a no-brainer. A dentist produces more in the office than they produce at Metro Airport. Right. But the business model is such that I'm not about to let these opportunities slide. I've never been, you talked about being radically open-minded. If someone approaches me with an opportunity, my answer is yes. I'll figure out the rest later, because I don't want someone else doing it. Because if someone else is doing what I want to do, what I know I can do, I will be kicking myself and I will just be a generally unhappy person. Anytime I've let opportunities slip by, I've never once said, oh, well, I didn't want it anyways. If I didn't want it at the beginning, that's fine. Right. But if I wanted it and I let time lapse and someone else came in my position, board member of the AACA, I'm not saying no. I know it requires being in Vegas from Tuesday to Saturday. Well, I work Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. I'm taking time out of my office. But those 3 days that I'm a board member and that I'm going to board meetings at the ACA, I'm not giving up for anybody because I do not want not that I don't want anyone else to have that experience. I need that for my portfolio. I need that for my, my self-interest. Lecturing for Dr. Rondo, I took his courses 10, 12 years ago. I went through all of his continuums. He's looking for someone to teach clear aligners. Ron, can you do it? Yes. Can you put together a 4-day continuum? Yes. I didn't know if I could do it or not. Yes.
You'll figure it out.
I figured it out later, but I did it and I'm still doing it and I'm still figuring it out. And I'm learning the hard way because I get paid for days that I teach. I don't get paid when I'm at home putting PowerPoints together.
Right.
I get paid for copying and pasting the clin checks onto my PowerPoint slides. That is extremely time consuming, which I didn't know that, but I agreed to it. So I did it and I continue to do it and I love it. But it's like, wow, the amount of time I've put in really is not kind of the same as what I've got so far. But in years to come, when I just copycat this, from city to city, hopefully, then it becomes worthwhile. You travel on days that you don't work. You check in a hotel. Everything's paid for by Rondo Seminars. It's a quality guy with a quality organization with a quality product, by the way. But these things getting up and started, they take time away from the family. They take time away from Netflix when my wife wants to catch up on a show. They take time away from Saturday morning soccer game if I'm out somewhere teaching. It takes a little bit of time away, but these little sacrifices, I want to have these experiences because I just can't sit back and be like, let someone else do it. If I'm given the opportunity, if God granted me the opportunity and the graces to be able to do this in front of people, then I'm going to do it, and I'll figure it out later. That's how I feel. Never say no to an opportunity because you don't know when that opportunity is going to come again. And I know I learned the hard way.
And by the way, for those of you listening, I'm more obviously on the Zoom call. Like I can see you, but I've known Ron for the past year, and whenever I talk to you, you're here. Like you're just at positive energy, and that whole answer was just fulfillment. It's really cool to see your positive energy, and that's why you're radically open-minded. It's you're always thinking, there could be something great here.
Yeah.
And you'll work to figure it out and work to get it the right way if you need to. So I love that you shared that. And ultimately that's part of the business model. It's like, well, if you don't know yet, let's try it out or leverage other dentists who've done it and see how they did it. And I think a lot of dentists, could learn from that, right? They could definitely incorporate that and learn that. So, well, I want to go a little bit further back.
Sure.
How does a young Canadian boy end up in Shelby Township, Michigan? And I know you ended up, was it dental school in Ohio, right?
Yeah.
So how do you end up in Michigan? Walk us through that. Tell us about that little journey.
My mom was born and raised in Detroit. She married my dad and they moved to Canada, very, very close by, 45 minutes from here. So all my relatives were here anyways, aunts, uncles, grandparents, cousins. I was always here. I always figured I could be here. I didn't know for sure. But then right before I started dental school, one of my cousins, my first cousin, is best friends with my wife. And that's how I met my wife. And, we hit it off and started dating. And all of a sudden I got married and moved here. And this was, it was a natural transition for me.
Okay.
And I'm where I wanted to be. So wasn't anything earth shattering. I got accepted to school in Cleveland, Ohio. So I went there for 4 years and I got married, moved back to Detroit. And then here I am, Shelby Township, Michigan.
Tell us about your commitment to sort of the nonprofit side of dentistry. So you've done some, when I was looking at some of your past, you've done some great work, philanthropic work. And now you're part of the, if I'm saying it right, the Pierre Fouchard Academy.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about your journey to help there.
I stopped connecting the dots a long time ago, but I'm fairly certain that everything good that's happened to me in dentistry, and by extrapolation in my personal life, came from a single point in dentistry where I agreed to help somebody. And I can literally trace years of doors that opened for me in terms of professional opportunities, philanthropic opportunities, economic opportunities, and just generally good things. I was involved in someone in a nursing home entered something like Make-A-Wish contest. And this lady won, and she wanted her teeth fixed. Okay. And she won, but they didn't have a dentist to do it. So my sister-in-law, Rita, was involved at the time with this nursing home. And she calls in her friend, she goes, Ron, this woman won. She wants her teeth fixed. Can you do it? 100%. Didn't even ask what she needed. I got this. Tell her to come in.
Right. You said yes.
I said yes. Lady came in, and I got my picture in the paper. You know, they took my picture. They made an article about the paper. And this had to be way before I had kids. This had to be like around 2004.
Okay.
I just saw the lady last week. She still comes in.
Wow.
And she's still my one that I give work to. She wanted her teeth fixed. She's still getting them fixed all these years later. But because of that, her daughter went to school to be like when you're in a charity, you're the executive, the administrator of a charity, like the title is escaping me right now, but she runs a charity organization.
Okay.
She went to school for that. So she was starting this Paula Tutman Children's Tooth Fairy Fund. Paula Tutman from Channel 4 to News in Detroit. Paula Tutman wanted to do give kids a smile type charity. So through that, I got involved. They threw me on the board of directors of that. That ran its course for a little bit. Then from there came election to Pierre Fouchard Academy. It's an invite only thing. And throughout my career, I can trace back all good things that happen, like these little jumping off points and people that come into your life from that one moment in time that I just said yes. I didn't have to. I was doing other charity things at the time, and it sucked. I was being taken advantage of. Like when people tell you what charity to take, that's not a good position to be in.
All right.
But when you're able to pick and choose what you do for people, that is a wonderful position to be in. Right. That's a position that I took with this case, and it's paid dividends way more professional. I mean, professional fulfillment was one thing to help someone, but it's paid dividends over, above, and beyond what I ever expected it to. And in a way, I'm here now. I'm in the AAC now because of it.
Oh, that's incredible. So yeah. I didn't expect that to take that turn, but basically that is there's if you're listening closely, what you just shared is your ability to give back has created the personal and professional development that you've had. Mm-hmm. You've been able to trace that. And I'm sure many people will be able to share that who've been able to give back. So it's almost like, can you get out of your own way, not just to do professional development, but to give back? Yeah.
No, Steve, I remember being solicited by, I don't know what organization, but it was an organization that helps underprivileged people to get dental work right away. I'm the first one. Everybody did it. I think donated dental or Tri-County Search, something. And I get this patient. He comes in, and here I am. I'm thinking that he's destitute, down on his luck, something. The guy comes in for, I think I did like a filling or a root canal or something. And his story was he just moved from Florida, didn't know where to go for a dentist. That's not someone that needs the help. No. I was so bitter that day. I get so bitter when someone takes advantage of me.
Yeah.
And it's like it wasn't him. He just called the number and talked his way. He didn't wake up that day and says, I'm going to find Direzze in Shelby Township and take advantage of him. He called the number, they funneled him through, but just the system didn't work. And I just vowed to be in charge of my own charity from there forward, because it really wasn't fair. I didn't feel it was fair to me. It's not fair to someone who really needs it,
right?
That they're taking up the resources that I'm able to devote to them. And this guy could afford a root canal. He was like some kind of managerial position, like a well-dressed guy.
Yeah.
Just taking advantage of free dental work. That's not fair.
So you like to take the power of, I'll choose where I'm going to help, but you're also choosing to do it. Number one.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think
any dentist will tell you the same thing.
Yeah.
Be in charge of who you choose to give to. Don't let them be in charge of you.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Well, sometimes you're, I don't want to use the word lazy. You're lazy in looking for that way you can help. So if an opportunity comes, it's easier just to say, I'll take that opportunity.
Right.
Because you're so busy in your everyday world. It's like, let me help at the same time. Right.
Right.
Choose and go get it. Well, one last thing I want you to talk about between TMJ, ortho, sleep apnea, the dental implants, the scanning. You've evolved it's like you truly now are a general dentist. Like you do a lot of different things.
Yeah.
And where do you see the next 10 years of Dr. Ron going? Where maybe it's a practice, maybe it's you individually. Where do you see it for yourself?
It's definitely scanning everybody. I showed the funnel before. This is called the Invisalign funnel, as you see up here.
Yeah.
But it's really, it could be the dentistry funnel or the crown funnel or the veneer funnel or the TMJ. It could be anything you want it to be. Scanning people is magic. And finding the resources to scan people is not so magic. That's the hard work. You got to come up with money to buy these scanners. You got to come up with staff members that can scan. You got to sweet talk everybody in the office, because there's going to be people you want scanned and there's going to be no time to scan them. When you don't scan, you lose opportunities. And this game is all about opportunities. If you want to be ahead of the game, you grab those opportunities and pull them in when you can. When the people are hot, you have to grab those opportunities. And I do a whole section about implementation that I learned from Dr. Galler. But you need people that can scan on a dime. You need these people in your office that can just stop, turn, go, and scan without asking questions. It's the hardest thing. It's the hardest thing, because if you think about a hygienist that goes to school, their license involves prophy, getting rid of hard deposits on teeth, oral hygiene instruction, x-ray certification. Nowhere in their license does it say you've got to scan people with an iTero. Nowhere. So do you know what becomes not important when they're doing their list of things? Scanning. So you need people on board. You need people to share your vision. And every Christmas card I write out, every little note of thank you, every time I grab someone and say, thank you for scanning, I would say, thank you for sharing my vision. Thank you for sharing my vision, because this vision is going to propel us forward, right? Scanning is everything. We've seen what scanning can do with Invisalign. Scanning can elevate you it can elevate you in tears, it can elevate your case acceptance, it can elevate your case numbers, it can elevate anything you do in Invisalign. But copycat that to implants. I do a little talk about, why does a surgeon do 300 implants a year and you don't? Well, you're never going to do 300 implants a year. But if you start scanning everybody, you can find 300 implants a year. But let's say you take the top 15 or 25 and you do those ones yourself and you send the rest to the surgeon. The key is, show your patient on a screen what malocclusion looks like, or show them what an empty space looks like. Show them how their teeth twist and turn and rock and move when you're missing a tooth and you don't have a stable occlusion. Show them, talk to them. And the trick is to not put these things on a shelf to be done later.
Right.
It's not like, let's get your small little filling done first and then do your implants. That's backwards. Stabilize occlusion, stabilize your bite first, then think about everything else later. That mentality is going to get more penetration. You're certainly going to get a more decent turnover rate or more case acceptance. And then you pick and choose what you want to do. You don't have to do it. So this scanning is going to be everywhere. We're going to be able to take back our numbers. We're going to be able to compete with the specialist in terms of case closes. And we're going to be able to pick and choose what we do in terms of Invisalign, or you can send to the orthodontist if it's a kid that needs a molar classification corrected. You can choose to do a simple implant, or you can send that to the surgeon. You can do bite guards or send to a TMJ specialist if they need jaw repositioning.
Right.
You can do veneers, full mouth reconstruction, all on X. You name what you want to do in dentistry, you can probably tie it back to scanning and get a better penetration of case acceptance than you could without a scanner. So these scanners that, I have 3 of them. There's people that rack their brains and can't figure out how to get one of them. But I know that the answer is not trying to save on impression material. I know that's not the answer. The answer is in the ROI of case presentations.
Right.
So, I've looked into these deals. I'm not too rich to not look into the free scanner deal with the labs. Unfortunately, they just don't work out. Nothing's free. Everything has to come full circle. You're not going to get something for nothing. It just doesn't work that way. But what you can do is educate and speak from experience and show patients what they could be missing without proper treatment.
Well, so all of that is the impact that you guys are having on your patient base. When you're able to do that much and have a trusted source to come to, I mean, you have a lifelong patient, right?
Yeah.
And it's so important to their overall health, which you and I understand, but the patient doesn't necessarily know that yet. Or maybe they're starting to understand that a little bit. Yeah. So more education needs to happen there. But
the scanner connects the dots. The scanner shows them without treatment over time, things can get worse. That's important too. No one has to do anything. This is America. Right. No one has to do anything. If we have tools at our disposal that can show you, like you send me a financial statement every month, I can see when things are going downhill.
Right.
There's an red arrow goes down. That means things are getting bad. Or the arrow goes up, means things are getting really good. The iTero scanner is kind of like the same thing for people that are just sitting there waiting, contemplating what to do.
Yeah.
The more education you have, the more you're better able to get the right answer for the patient.
Well, Doc, I feel like we could go for another hour.
Yeah.
Because you have so much knowledge and experience to share. But as we said in the beginning of the podcast, you're entering the prime. So I'm pumped to see where you continue to grow. And I just want to thank you for jumping on. Anything last few words you want to share with the audience?
Get involved. Don't be afraid of organized dentistry, specifically the AACA, because that's turning organized dentistry on its head. And it's really something what we're doing. We have WhatsApp chats for just about every aspect of dentistry, and they're all active and they all have their own, specialist people that specialize in that area of dentistry. It's a great way to practice and it's a great way to live. I urge you to get involved, not just with Invisalign, but with AACA. And I urge anyone that has an interest in Invisalign to get into a local study club. We have about 30 across America right now. And there's going to be several more popping up in the next year or 2 years. Get involved and don't be a stranger. Don't be a nobody.
I love that. And Ron, I could probably put it right in the show notes, direct them right to the main website where they can learn more about the ACA, correct?
Of course.
Yep. All right. Well, there you have it. Dr. Ron, thank you so much. You have a blessed day. And for all you Bridge Dental Podcast listeners, thank you for joining us and hope to talk to you very, very soon.
Thank you.